right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Patriots Only Please podcast. As always, I'm your co-host, Jeff C.
Mr. Soli.
Mr. Soli, I know. Yeah, we got to make sure that we keep ourselves somewhat anonymous. And not only because of, it's kind of dangerous to be conservative in these times, but you especially have some crazy stories as to why we would want to be a little anonymous. So just to kind of paint the picture, you've been building, a little bit of a following on platforms like TikTok and doing, pretty well for like a little over a year now, posting, fairly innocuous, content, nothing that's too incendiary, nothing that's, not, riling people up or anything. I mean, I happen to enjoy the Backyard Buddha content. It's quite good if you haven't seen it.
I've gotten that from a lot of people. I've got to do more of that. I've got to do more of that. That's,
See, that's all great stuff, but you have been kind of feeling the cold hand of censorship. So, tell me a little more of what's going on, and anybody who might be watching this, kind of explain what's been happening from your perspective.
Sure. So, TikTok is very, very. I don't know if it's because it's an election year or because there are so many more conservative creators on that platform. Back in the 2020 cycle, I wasn't even on TikTok. So I don't know, but I went online and checked it, and they said, yeah, there's been a huge uptick in conservative creators since the 2020 election, because people think about TikTok is the reason why it's addictive, or the reason why it's useful is that, like, last night I was performing at a casino, and I did a live stream of the performance, and it said no politics, live music from Las Vegas. So that couldn't couldn't ruffle any feathers. 5,000-6,000 people watched each set. You get that kind of an immediate, once the algorithm starts to do its thing, it's fun to get that kind of audience, those kinds of numbers right away. Now, when you're talking about politics, it can be twice that, 3 times that, but you run the risk of having one person. It just takes one person to flag you for misinformation, and TikTok goes suspended. I've been watching, so I can't tell you how many times I've been watching people's lives. It just goes off. It just goes away. That means they got suspended.
In the middle of their live stream.
Mid word.
Which is interesting. So now the irony here is that I'm pretty tech and digital marketing savvy, but I have also kind of purposely steered clear a little bit of TikTok, for a number of reasons, but one of them being because of what you're talking about. And it's not just TikTok, by the way, but when I have gone on there, obviously, so for those who don't know, I'm sure anybody who's watching this is very familiar with it, but the algorithm is trained in such a way that it will really kind of go overboard on giving you exactly the type of content that you want or that you're used to viewing. So TikTok has kind of has that dialed in better, I believe, from what I understand, than some other platforms. So because of that, on the very rare occasions when I do fire up TikTok, it's very rare, but when I do fire it up, all I get is conservative content, these conservative creators who are saying things that are far more, probably controversial and far more combative than anything I've ever seen you do. So I guess the question is, why you and not them? Like, what is it?
It's a great question. I constantly say throughout. So when I go live, I constantly say, probably once every 3 or 4 minutes, I want to remind you guys that everything that I'm saying is for entertainment and educational purposes only. I'm not an expert. These are my opinions. Please fact check me. That's my entire approach. But the thing is, when you get a couple of trolls on there who won't let up, and they keep coming at you, and if you avoid them, they'll flag you for avoiding them. And if you try to address them and they're just being trolls, there's no end to it, So it just becomes, so you just ignore them in the live, or if you can, while you're talking and scrolling and answering other people's questions, mute them or block them. That's the best way to go, but that's distracting. And it's the bigger the numbers get, the harder that is to do in real time.
Sure.
It's definitely TikTok's algorithm too. They don't like conservatives. They don't want to hear anti-establishment rhetoric, and they don't. For the thing going on with Alexa right now, I mean, that's a real
Oh
thing.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a real thing. That's Amazon. Amazon's in this ginormous company, and they programmed their robot to be pro Kamala and anti Trump.
Yeah.
So it's the Democratic Party is now the party of big tech, big ag, big pharma, big banking,
Censorship.
So censorship. I mean, 100%, and they're not hiding it anymore. They're proud of it. Kamala was boasting about the fact that Brazil just banned X. Like, once I'm president, I'll do the same thing here. Can't wait.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's not just, like we said, it's not just TikTok. I mean, even going back a couple of years during the pandemic, YouTube, which is owned by Google, or Alphabet as it's called now, they same thing. That's why a lot of big name conservative creators like guys like Dan Bongino and Russell Brand and Steven Crowder, like those kinds of people. Now I know Brand and Crowder, they still have a presence on YouTube. Bongino just said, hey, forget this. I'm just going to pull myself off, and he has.
Right.
And but he's also like a majority stakeholder in the Rumble platform. So that's kind of why he's trying to get people over to that platform. But I've even seen specifically Crowder and Russell Brand say they take it up to like 40 minutes or whatever. And they go, okay, we're going to continue this over on Rumble or Periscope or one of these other platforms. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. But I think that speaks to not just the censorship aspect of it, but the need for this parallel economy, right? I mean, if what's the saying? Like, I don't want to be invited, I don't want to be at a party that I'm not invited to, right? So if they're going to kick you off some of these legacy platforms like YouTube and all of these, then you have to kind of plant your flag on some of these other platforms like the Rumbles of the world and the Truth Socials. And now, thank God, Elon, since he's taken over X, because that was a huge example of censorship. The president himself at the time was getting, censored and kicked off of those platforms. So if they can do it to Trump, if they can do it to Steven Crowder, if they can do it to, to Dan Bongino, they can certainly do it to you. Yeah. So I guess the question here is, do you continue trying to swim uphill, or do you just try to build your house on, more stable ground?
What separates TikTok from the rest of the platforms for me is the way they help you to monetize it. They monetize you for your lives. You get paid to stream longer, and I'm collaborating with merchants selling products, making money. That keeps me. That makes you want to stay on the app and just sell stuff and not talk about, just maybe post me with the American flag and go America, but not actually talk about politics, just to keep a presence there. And we've created on my backup channels now our Patriots Only Please, which is in its infancy. But I mean, I'm going to have to migrate to some other platforms for sure where I can speak freely, and I can't do it on TikTok anymore. And a lot of conservative creators have 4 or 5 or 6 backup accounts on TikTok where they constantly keep getting suspended and banned. But that's nonsense. I don't want to do that. I don't want to live my life like that. I only got a small taste of it on Facebook once about a month and a half ago, and I learned the secret. And I'm sharing the secret with the whole world right now. But the secret on Facebook for me was to not tag anybody. You can post almost anything. Just if you tag people, that's when they go, wait a minute, you're connecting directly with humans. You just post it on the platform and don't tag anyone, they leave it alone, unless it's someone murdering somebody or something out, completely inciting violence with a video. But that once I stopped tagging people, I got no more backlash from Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's probably because they're just straight up shadow banning and just not even, they're
no one's
yeah, they can post it as long as nobody's going to see it anyway, and we'll make sure nobody sees it, So
we found out from Zuckerberg just recently, Biden-Harris administration 100% forced them to quell conservative voices. You saw that, right? I mean, everyone saw that, and he regrets it. But he went along with it because they're the administration. They control taxes and stuff, But this administration, this Democrat Party, is 100% the party of censorship, not free speech. Their way or the highway. It's just we're having a 1984 moment in real time, man. And people are waking up. People really are waking up. I'm seeing it where I look to see it. I'm seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Democrats. There's a lot of Democrats migrating over to the Republican Party, and there's a lot of Democrats saying, "I'm just not going to vote. I'm sitting this one out."
Yeah, every day, like I'm seeing at least one or two, like prominent Democrats, prominent lifelong Democrats. They're like, "Whoa, this is not the party I signed on for
Well,
20,
and
30
people
years
like
ago."
Brett Weinstein, the evolutionary biologist, and he and his wife are like, we've been fans of Bobby Kennedy our whole lives. That's Democrat Party we believe in. We're still Democrats. We
Mhm.
can't vote for Kamala Harris. We're going to vote for Trump because they've got the RFK Jr. thing going on now. That's
Yeah.
our only option. There's a lot of that going on. Because people do want to vote. I mean, your vote is your voice. You can sit
Mhm.
it out if you want to, but I'd rather you vote for Trump and make America great again for real, because Kamala is going to take us in a direction that no one's going to like.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's interesting to watch all of this play out in real time. And I have managed to avoid, your experience because I don't really, I kind of know that going in. So I don't really
Yeah.
post anything political. I only post about my gigs or whatever, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I keep politics completely out of it. And it's interesting that you had to create the TikTok for this brand, this Patriots Only Please brand. You would think that is going to be censored like immediately, right? So I guess we'll find out.
We'll
But
find out. So
yeah,
far, so good. We've had one strike so far on that account out of 15 posts or whatever it's been. But
yeah,
yeah, they're just merciless. TikTok's merciless, and it's. I was just talking to you earlier. I know we're in Nevada, and the Nevada Democrat Party just got Jill Stein kicked off the ballot in November of 2024. Democratic lawyers, DNC, had Nevada Supreme Court kick her off the ballot.
which
So I
is
mean, they kicked.
interesting because they tried to do everything they could to kick Bobby off, and then once he aligned with Trump, then they wouldn't let him remove himself, and now they're just going
Right.
to kick just. It's like it's never been more obvious. It's so out in the open. It's blatant corruption. It's blatant election interference, and
Yes.
yet that side either and I know I repeat myself a lot on this, but they either don't know that it's going on, or worse, they know it's going on and they completely ignore it and look the other way because, well, orange man bad.
Exactly.
For authoritarianism, and he stands for censorship, and we're gonna turn into this totalitarian state when your side is doing that right in front of you. Like,
Exactly.
how do you justify that argument? Which is why I think so many legacy Democrats are kind of coming to their senses and joining the other side. And by the way, anybody that's going to come to me and say, "Oh, well, look, Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris," that's not an endorsement, my friend. Anybody who thinks that the conservative people of 2024 want anything to do with the conservatives of 2001
Nope.
and 2004 are,
Nope.
because so those of us who say, well, I mean, look, George Bush hasn't said anything. Screw George Bush and screw Cheney. Those people are rhino warmongers, and we wouldn't want them in our party anyway. So that just goes to show the dynamics of our party has changed dramatically over the last 20 years, but the left still sees us as that.
Right. Well, and those everything all the people that you're mentioning, including even Hillary Clinton on the left, they're neocons. They're neocons. They're warmongers, and that's part of the deep state. That's the same. They're joined at the hip. So Trump threw a monkey wrench into all of that, and they've never forgiven him for it.
That's why they're going after him.
Exactly. I mean, to quote Tucker Carlson from the very first debate in 2016 with Jeb Bush to his right, when Trump said the Iraq War was a fiasco, it was a waste of time and money, zillions of people are dead for no reason, and what a complete, Tucker's like, no one says that in DC. You never say those words out loud, even at dinner parties. You never go against the war. And Trump did that, and right away he was marked for removal. So when he won, that really was not supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to win. So that threw a big, huge monkey wrench in their plan of Hillary taking over from Obama, keeping the war thing going. Who knows? Can you imagine what the world would look like right now if Hillary Clinton would have won in 2016? What would the world look like right now?
Well, I mean, it probably would have been very much like it is now back then, and then just 4 years worse. I mean,
Well, we'd still be in a war somewhere. There'd be
Sure,
war. I mean,
sure.
And there would be no Republican presence for almost 20 years. Not good. I mean, the Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. We need Trump back in there to get to stabilize the country, get things back on an even footing, and make America first again for Americans. I mean, what's really challenging to me about Democrats is it's one thing to say orange man bad, but it's another thing when you hear stats like the Biden-Harris administration admits they've lost 325,000 migrant children. They just don't know where they are. These are unaccompanied minors who cross the border somehow and just are out there. It's like, how does that not? Why are we not? Why isn't every news outlet blaring that? Like, look, Amber Alerts, whatever. Look for because we don't know their names. We don't know anything about them. I mean, it blows me away that I mean, and there's so many of those kinds of facts where people just go, well, when you have open borders, I guess that's going to happen, and the fentanyl and it's like, they're open because Joe Biden opened them, and because Kamala Harris, they kept them open. They're not, it's not an accident. And it's also not an invasion. It's not an invasion when the host country is inviting you and enticing you with money and free food and free housing. That's not an invasion. It's when you break in. They're opening up the gate and going, come on in.
Yep. And we have an opportunity to change that, but and we've said this before, I know we're repeating ourselves a lot, but it bears repeating. Their hatred of one man is so big compared, they would rather watch the country burn.
Right.
Because they hate one guy so much that,
sure.
You know what I mean? And the fact that they're willing to just blatantly err on the side of socialism, totalitarianism,
right.
war, big pharma,
right.
I mean, all of the things that they would blame our side for over the last, historically over the last several decades, they're just blatantly out in the open doing it, which is why, again, you're seeing so many people switch over.
And let's not forget that these are the same people that kept you locked in your homes during COVID. They were the most radical states about lockdowns, about, hey, tell on your neighbor. If your neighbor has 3 people at their house instead of 2, give us a call and get them in trouble. These are the people that want you to reelect them right now on the left. Don't do it for your own safety, for your own well-being, for freedom, for, it's like, and I think another reason why Joe Biden dropped out is that he was becoming as unlikable as Trump, because he was such a failure, but such a jerk about it. I mean, I'll never forget in the first few months of his administration when the Afghanistan debacle happened, and he had that sit down with George Stephanopoulos about, and George Stephanopoulos couldn't be a more sympathetic interviewer, right, for the president. He's a total lefty. And he's like, I mean, Mr. President, you have to admit the optics of that evacuation were not good. Children hanging off wheels of planes and falling to their deaths. And he goes, well, what do you expect? We've been there for too long. It's like, do you feel bad at all about it? He goes, what? Bad about what?
And what's crazy is now
Joe Biden's not going to go down as one of the cool, likable presidents in history, because he's worse than, in my opinion, he's more off-putting than Trump, because he's incompetent and unsuccessful running the country into the ground and brazen about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at it, I mean, Kamala shares that record. She's
100%.
The last person in the room, and yet nobody's looking at that. It's nice to see more and more people kind of bringing this up, like, well, I mean, your day one, like you said, like a lot of people saying, your day one was back in 2021. I mean, like, what are you talking about? On day one, I'm going to do this. People forgetting, like, she's in there now. She's in there right now. In fact, who the hell knows where Biden is? I mean, he's made very few appearances since he's dropped out. And so is she running the country? Is the deep state running the country? And this speaks more to that point about, it's not left versus right. It's not Democrat versus Republican anymore. It is freedom versus, authoritarianism. I mean,
tyranny.
This is, tyranny. Yeah. Exactly. Tyranny knows no party. We're fighting for the freedom and the soul of this country and everything that it stands for. And it doesn't matter what letters next to your name. And it's that, I think, is what's so frustrating, but it is encouraging to see more people kind of waking up. I mean, we're down to the wire now. I mean, we're getting down to the final days, before, we start casting votes. Now, an interesting question. I'm a big fan of guys like Dan Bongino and all that, and he keeps saying how you got to vote early, you got to vote early. And I know before that, in the last election, we were loath to do that. But his reasoning is if you do that early, then now you've got some time to challenge that vote. You know what I mean? Whereas if you do it on election day, they're going to be, oh, sorry, ran out of ink. Oh, the machines aren't working. Oh, you're going to have to wait here for 6 hours. Sorry. And they're going to pull that stuff.
Jeff, as we're having this conversation, Texas just pulled 1 million illegal voters off the. Conservative governors around the country are going into the voter rolls and finding hundreds of thousands of incorrect dead people. How?
Thank God they're doing that right now. Thank God.
I know, but but the Democrats are literally against anyone showing an ID to vote. They're literally the party of anything for us to win. Anything for us to win. That's it. All we care about is staying in power perpetually. We don't care about the rest of it. Get rid of this Trump guy, and we're going to win forever. We're going to make sure we win forever. We're going to bring in 21 million new voters if we have to, at your expense, taxpayers. And Democrats are like, woohoo! Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Which is really funny because one of their big, talking points in the election is they keep running that little clip of Trump saying, "I'm going to be a dictator on day one. Oh, don't worry, you'll never have to vote. You'll never have a problem again. You'll never have to vote again." And they're completely taking it out of context, and yet they're the ones who are just displaying every day how real totalitarianism and tyranny and authoritarianism works in real time.
Yes, they are.
Why it'll be really interesting to see. So as we're recording this, the day before the matchup between Trump versus Kamala, obviously we'll have more to talk about, after that. But
sure.
What's the vibe? What I've been seeing, even on the left, is that they're starting to look at her policies. She had a very small bump after the convention. It seems to now have tapered down. And now people are saying, well, I don't know. You think they're having a little buyer's remorse, or what's your take on that?
I think that if anyone that would consider voting for her ever is probably going to be a Kamala voter no matter what. It's the independents, people in the middle, and I think if the Democrats are going to sit it out or switch to our side that they're worried about, because she does not do well unscripted, and she's very rarely unscripted. And this is going to be, if they follow the rules, it's ABC. They probably won't, but not supposed to have the questions in advance. You can bring a notebook, but no writing. You can't have crib notes on here. It's got to be an empty notebook. Trump won't have one, but she can bring a notebook and take notes while the debate's happening, but no questions in advance, no notes, no audience, standing up, and they can turn off your microphone once you stop speaking. So she didn't want any of that stuff. She wanted to be able to keep talking, to be able to have her little moment where she goes, "Excuse me, I'm still talking." Yeah. That won't be able to happen because they'll turn the microphone off the minute she stops talking, or at the 90-second mark or whatever. But if you remember from the first debate with Biden, more than once, Jake Tapper or the other interviewer, her name escapes me right now, was like, "Mr. President, you've got 80 seconds left. Do you want to say anything else?" Like, "Oh, well, as a matter of fact, not really." And he's been doing this for half a century. Have we ever seen her in an unscripted moment?
Not really. Nope. Especially not that interview that she did a couple, like last week or a couple of weeks ago with Dana Bash, who couldn't have been more sympathetic. It
was recorded, it was edited, and she had the questions in advance, and it was horrendous. So, I think if Trump stays presidential, if he sticks to the script, if he answers his questions, the huge advantage that he has is he can say, "When I was president, and then when I was in the White House,"
which is interesting because the equivalent for her is not favorable, because she could say, "Well, now while I'm in office," well, yeah, exactly. While you're in office, you haven't done anything, and it's gotten worse. So. What's your excuse? You're going to blame the last 16 years when 12 of those years has been largely under Democratic rule, and it's all Trump's fault when he had 4 years and that's it?
Well, the press left and right jumped all over her interview, her CNN interview, when she said, "A lot of the problems that you're referring to, Dana, started about 10 years ago." And they're like, "Hold on. Barack Obama was the president 10 years ago. Your boss, Joe Biden, was the vice president. What are you talking about? Like, how do you square that circle? Well, but then of course they let her off the hook immediately because no one follows up with her. No one goes for the jugular with Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dana
And
Bash
that's not
went
going to
right
happen
after
tomorrow.
Dana Bash went right after JD Vance, like right for the
Yeah.
jugular. But Kamala, it's all soft, soft. This little soft softballs, you know.
Yeah, and they're
But
certainly not going to do that tomorrow.
I think Trump's a better. I mean, everyone knows Trump's a better debater. Everyone knows Trump has real experience making real decisions as the decision maker, as the president.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows that for the last 3.5 years, Kamala Harris has been off giving speeches that they wrote for her, supporting Bidenomics. She's had no say in anything. She repeats back. She's literally been a puppet for almost 4 years, and now she's the ringleader. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't sell that to people that have eyes and ears that speak English. They can watch her body language and watch what she's not saying and go, but you weren't for fracking before. Now, but wait a minute. You're in office right now. What?
And exactly. And yet her supporters either don't know or they know and they don't care. And so that's the frustrating part. I'm just really hopeful that as more and more people wake up, it could even be at the moment when they're in the ballot box. It could be the moment, whether that's early voting or when they're on the day,
right?
They go, gas prices, grocery prices, wars,
mortgage rates, illegal immigrants, illegal immigrants. I mean, as we're having this conversation, there's 20,000 Haitian people have taken over. You've seen this thing that's going on with the Haitian people?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a clip of Kamala where she said we gave asylum to 100,000 people from Haiti who needed it, and there's 20,000 of them taking over a city, killing and eating people's pets. The thing in Aurora, Colorado. I mean, it's like this is happening. We see it in the UK a lot more because the UK is an island and it's got a population of 50 million people. That's like one state in our country. So we're seeing it there so vividly, especially in London, all the stabbings. I mean, it's so easy to see it there. Our country is ginormous, so it's spread out. It's happening in blue cities, but it's going to spread out. I mean, it's going to be everywhere, guys. This is not going to just be a blue state problem, and it's going to cost all of us trillions of dollars. I mean, it's enough already.
Yeah, and if you think it's bad now, you really want another 4 years of this? You want to see what the country looks like in 2028? Exactly. Are we even going to have a country in 2028? So that's why this is not just an election for a president. I know every year, every cycle, they say this is the most important election of our lifetimes. I really feel like this is, the last couple have been for the soul of the country, and it goes far beyond one politician or one guy, because at some point, Trump wins, Trump loses, whatever, the 4-year cycle, hopefully, Trump wins. 4 years later, he won't be able to run again. And I know everybody on his side is, well, he's going to make sure he never leaves. Like that, really? Okay. So keep using that excuse when the candidates you're supporting are literally trying to do everything they can to stay in power forever. But for the sake of argument, okay, let's say Trump gets in and he gets out in 4 years. Somebody's going to have to carry on the torch, because it's not just about him. It's about
No, it's not. No, it's not. We've got Ron DeSantis. We've got Vivek. What's happening is people are percolating to the top who are conservative, smart, successful, saying we got to make America first again. He's bringing that out. He's unifying the party. I mean, RFK Jr. joining him is a big, make America healthy again. Resonates with moms. It resonates with caregivers. It resonates with a lot of people. So it's good. What's happening on our side is good. And let's not forget for 1 second, buddy, when Trump beat Hillary in 2016, Obama was the president. Obama is considered God with a small G on the left, right?
Yeah.
His influence couldn't get Hillary elected. It happened. Joe Biden's no Obama. He's been a joke. And Kamala is a joke. I mean, let's face it, she was a joke until 3 months ago, and now we're supposed to take her seriously. But again, she's not done anything. She literally hasn't done anything. She's been the VP in case Biden couldn't do his job. And we found out at the debate with Trump, he wasn't doing his job for 4 years when she said he was. She's been deceiving this country. Pardon me?
And neither was she.
Neither was she. I mean, exactly. So it's like you've got a phony against a real president. That's the debate tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
A complete manufactured DNC puppet against the voice of the Republican Party, who, by the way, was nominated, won a primary. He beat out Nikki Haley. Remember, there was an actual primary. He was elected by conservatives in this country. Kamala was selected. No primaries, no campaigns to get the gig. No, I mean nothing. And she's done what? An interview or two since she was crowned. I mean, it couldn't have been more handed on a silver platter. But now the people have to buy the platter. And what are you buying? Record high inflation. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but it's like, it can't be more obvious how rigged it already is for to get people to want to vote for her for all the wrong reasons.
Sure. And like I say, I know it's kind of crass, but I say all the time, they're voting for a brown vagina that'll allow late term abortions. That's it. Single issue, two issue, votes. That's it. She's a woman. She's a woman of color.
That doesn't ring true with a lot of women who are older. I mean, the older women get, the more conservative they get, the more the kids are older, stuff like that. That's a weak platform, my man. And there's a lot of people of color that see through it too and going, "Are you kidding me? She doesn't know what she's talking about. She has no idea what she's talking about." And they held their convention in Chicago, the murder capital of the United States. Didn't talk about that. They talked about Trump 500 times though. It's like, guys, there's real problems in this country that the Democrats aren't even talking about, let alone trying to fix. And they want you to focus all your attention on this orange guy. Like, can you see what's happening here?
Well, they're banking on the stupidity and the ignorance of the American public, and so I guess we'll see. And it's encouraging to see more people waking up, every day, and hopefully that'll continue to happen up until the election. And like I said, even on the day of, we may be very surprised and pleasantly surprised. So we just keep fighting. And again, as I always say, we got to make this thing get overwhelmed the vote, as Trump says, too big to rig. That's the only way it's really going to happen.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. So tomorrow, the debate's tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow. So we know Kamala's not going to win, but what does a stalemate look like? Can there even be a stalemate?
There won't be a stalemate because no matter how good or bad she does, we already know that the legacy media is going to be kissing her ass afterwards. She was so strong. So even if she falls flat on her face, they'll spin it in some way that you say, she was so strong in the face of that mean man, that mean orange man. And she stood firm in the face of that. And there won't be a second debate.
Maybe. I mean, when Trump debated Hillary, I mean, the press pilloried Hillary. She didn't do well. I mean, she had 35 years of experience at the highest level and was no match for Trump.
And that's what they're going to take for Kamala. They'll say, well, she hasn't had the kind of experience that Hillary. So they'll give her a pass. They'll use every justification and all the mental gymnastics they can to justify her performance, good or bad. If she doesn't fall completely on her face, they'll consider it a win. It'll be the greatest debate performance in history because she's a strong woman of color going against the evil orange rich man. And
I guess so, buddy. I guess so. But that's like selling an anime cartoon to adults. I mean, if it's really that bad, I don't know. We'll find out very soon. I agree with you that the legacy media is going to try to spin this towards her in her favor as quickly as possible. But if it's as bad as it might be, she's been in debate camp for a week. She's been trying to learn how to debate, how to answer questions on the fly. Just don't forget, buddy, she's really not an extemporaneous speaker. She's not she can't do that. So you can't learn to do that in a week. She's going to be what she is. And Trump excels in that format. Trump excels without a teleprompter because he knows what he's saying is true. So I'm not saying that the legacy media is going to be fair to Trump. They're not. But people can still see and hear with their own eyes how she fumbles and how she's awkward and how she contradicts herself and because no one's ever come at her. Trump's going to be coming at her. That's not part of the game plan. It's always monologues, scripted, teleprompted monologues. This is now.
Well, so that's what'll happen. The legacy media will cover for her, and her supporters won't care, which is funny because, they call us, it's this cult of personality, and we're just part of this cult. Well, if you're going to make those kinds of excuses for her and just, she's incredible, she's great, she's just the greatest thing ever.
Right.
That's not a cult of personality. I mean, you're
right. You're right. But I mean, let's let me ask you this before I know we're going to wrap things up here very soon, but I mean, the left was not kind to Biden in that debate. They were very brutally honest about how terrible his performance was. I mean,
because they knew that there was no hiding it, and they knew that there was so much time built up on how cognitively impaired he was. There was no avoiding it. With Kamala, they can use a few excuses. Well, she's still kind of new to the game. Okay, well, she's new to the game. You want somebody who's that new as your commander in chief? Well, she's a strong brown woman going against the mean orange man. Like, they're going to spin it in some way. With Biden, there was really no other way to spin it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, it really is a policy debate. I mean, and the interviewers, at least for the Biden-Trump debate, they kept it on point. They kept it to the questions. They kept them to the time. They did a pretty decent job of being impartial, I thought. Mm-hmm. And if ABC does the same thing, that only helps Trump.
Sure.
Because she doesn't have anything. She doesn't have anything to say. You know what I mean? She's right now owning a terrible economy, 2 wars, 21 million illegal immigrants. This is all a reflection of her decision making. So it'll be an incredible Hollywood feat to get people to believe it was a good performance if she just talks about policy too, because her policies are bad. Everything is bad, and she
finally released her policies. She finally released some of her policies, but they're
whatever,
they're all terrible.
But what Trump can say is, but you're in office right now. I've been out of office since 2020. So you own Joe Biden. You own Bidenomics. You own Biden inflation. You own the war, and you own the war in Ukraine. You own the war in Israel. You own these things, and it's the truth. So I don't know how you talk your way out of the truth for 90 minutes. How long? Because her taped interview with her VP and Dana Bash was 16 minutes. This is what, an hour and a half?
Something like that. Yeah. And
that's a long time for someone who has no experience doing this ever at the highest level against Trump, one of the most formidable debaters in the history of history. So again, unless ABC bends over backwards and breaks the rules, which I don't think they're going to be able to do. But unless they do that, I can't. How can you shine in this format for that long when you don't have that skill set at all?
That is a good question. That remains to be seen. And I think you and I will both enjoy watching her crash and burn. And, we will discuss the aftermath probably at some point this week.
Can you imagine being in that position, going into a debate, knowing that if you talk about the truth, you're screwed. If you go after Trump, he's the best. He's the best ever been at shutting. At refute. You saw in the when he, you know what I'm trying to say. So the only thing she's got is you're being mean to me or you're being a bully. But that's the interviewer's job. That's the debate host's job to handle that side of it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be fascinating to watch. I think Trump's going to win. I think they're going to spin it toward her as much as they can. But in terms of policies, in terms of reality, she has nothing to stand on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So with that, I think all of us are going to be watching this, regardless of what side you're on.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that you look. It's like a sporting event. You're going to root for your team no matter what. And if they lose, it was an off night. It was a bad night. We'll get them next time. And if they and when it comes to something as relatively subjective as a debate, then her side will just champion the fact that she went into the lion's den, and if nothing else, then she deserves to be she went into enemy territory. Which, by the way,
enemy territory on ABC. Enemy territory on ABC. Come on.
I know.
And Trump conceded on Fox News. He should have put his foot down. Yeah. Hey man, I'm always on your left wing networks. I'm doing it on Fox News, or I'm not doing it. I kind of wish he would have.
And you know what? And hey, Trump can always say, "Look, you were in enemy territory. Come on, I've been going into enemy territory since 2015, since I came
He'll
down
say
here."
that too.
So
It's the
as
truth.
good, and it's the truth, absolutely. So I mean, exciting times.
Yes.
Look, man, with as much as we talk, outside of these episodes, you sometimes got to talk me off the ledge about some of these. I get a little,
Yeah.
you're way more. Positive than I am. I automatically just kind of default to the fact that I think the 99% of the country is just stupid enough to vote for it. But hopefully that's not the case. I don't think that's the case. I think that in this given life, very hopeful that more people will kind of err on the side of reality and just logic and get rid of these terrible policies.
I think they will. I mean, if they look at their pocketbooks and look at their kids' future, you've got one choice. It's not
Yeah.
the Democrats.
Absolutely. So we'll continue this conversation after the debate. I'm sure we'll probably let a day or so. We'll see what the media has, because we'll have a lot to kind of break down and see what their response is going to be, and it probably
Right.
won't be. It would probably be exactly as we expect it, but we'll find out. So with that, man, I appreciate the time as always.
You too. Thank you, buddy.
We got Mr. Soli here, and so you know where to find us. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe on all of the socials at Patriots Only, please. And of course, if you want to check out any of our previous episodes or get on our mailing list, we are at patriotsonlyplease.com. And yeah, we would love to interact with you, whether that's on social media or whether that's, send us an email or a message, or wherever you're listening to these podcasts. We are everywhere you want to be. So yeah. With that, we are going to sign off, but we will be back very soon with another incredible episode of the Patriots
Thanks,
Only
everybody.
podcast. Yes, thank
Thanks,
you
Jeff.
so much. Yeah. Bye for now, folks.